Norman's Cay, Bahamas, 1980. A private island in the middle of the Atlantic. White sand, clear water, completely cut off from the world. But there are no tourists here, no fishermen, no families on vacation. There are armed guards on the beach, a reinforced airstrip running the length of the island. And every night, without fail, small planes appear out of the darkness, landing in silence, unloading, refueling, and disappearing north toward Florida. No customs, no inspections, no DEA, just cocaine. Hundreds of kilos per flight, multiple flights per week, moving directly into the United States like clockwork. At its peak, this single island was responsible for moving an estimated majority of all cocaine entering America. Some accounts put that figure as high as 70%. Washington had no idea it existed as a drug hub. The DEA had no name. Nobody was watching, because nobody even knew what they were supposed to be looking for. The man who built this was 31 years old, and 10 years earlier, he had nothing. Armenia, Colombia, 1949. Carlos Lehder is born, half Colombian, half German, son of a civil engineer. He grows up watching his father work hard for almost nothing. He makes a decision before he is old enough to shave. That won't be his life. He didn't want to be part of the system. He wanted to control it. By 15, he is in New York with nothing, drops out of school, runs stolen cars in Queens, and ends up in federal prison in Connecticut by 1973. Danbury Federal Penitentiary. He is 24 years old. No money, no plan, no future. Most people leave prison broken. Carlos left with a business plan. Inside Danbury, Carlos shares time with mid-level marijuana traffickers. Men who understand supply chains, routes, and risk. For the first time in his life, Carlos finds his classroom. He listens, he asks questions, he calculates. By the time he walks out, he knows exactly what he wants to build. And he knows exactly where the gap is. The mid-1970s, cocaine is already moving from Colombia to the United States, but barely. Human mules board commercial flights with cocaine strapped to their bodies, 2, maybe 3 kilos at a time. One suspicious look at customs, one bag check, and the whole operation collapses. Some traffickers use fishing boats, slow, detectable, seized constantly. The demand in America is exploding, but the bottleneck isn't supply. Colombia has all the cocaine in the world. The bottleneck is logistics. Carlos sees what nobody else does. America's official entry points are locked down, but the open airspace between the Bahamas and Florida, almost completely unguarded. Hundreds of private planes fly that corridor every day. Fishing trips, charters, tourism. No one tracking them. And the Bahamas, 210 miles from the Florida coast, is full of quiet, remote, private islands. Why smuggle kilos when you can move tons? Build your own island, your own airstrip, your own planes, your own route. A private logistics hub sitting just outside American territory, completely invisible to U.S. law enforcement. Carlos takes the idea to Pablo Escobar and the rising Medellin cartel. Give me the product, I'll handle the route. The cartel agrees. Now he just had to prove it worked. The plan made sense on paper, E.T. Now came the part that usually failed. Carlos flies to the Bahamas alone, spending days moving between islands, studying coastlines, calculating flight times to Florida. He needs somewhere remote, close enough for fast runs, and large enough to build real infrastructure. Then he finds it. Norman's Cay, small, quiet. A handful of private residents, a short existing airstrip, sitting perfectly, 210 miles from the Florida coast. He starts buying quietly. When residents push back, envelopes arrive. Then warnings. Those who don't take the money find life on the island impossible. One by one, they leave. Within months, Carlos controls Norman's Cay completely. Bahamian officials receive their payments. Local police develop sudden blindness. Construction crews arrive. The airstrip rebuilt longer, reinforced, wide enough for fully loaded cargo planes. A communications tower goes up. Fuel reserves stockpiled. Armed guards positioned along the beach. Late 1978. The first plane departs Colombia loaded with cocaine. It crosses the Caribbean, drops below radar range, and descends toward Norman's Cay. The airstrip lights flicker on, a signal from the ground. The plane touches down in silence. Within minutes, the cargo is unloaded, the tanks are refueled, and the plane lifts off again, heading north toward Florida, slipping into the stream of private aviation like it was never there. It lands at a private strip outside Miami. No customs agent, no inspection, no questions. Carlos gets the call. It worked. Not just worked, it worked perfectly. The entire run, door to door, had taken less than 6 hours, hundreds of kilos, zero risk. He hangs up the phone and already knows, this changes everything. Norman's Cay is running at full capacity. One test flight became a machine, hundreds of kilos per flight, multiple flights per week. The Medellin cartel is moving cocaine at a volume the American market has never seen. The street price of cocaine in the United States begins to drop. Carlos takes a cut on every kilo that passes through his airstrip. At peak operation, millions of dollars per week. He is 31 years old. He doesn't hide his success. Armed associates live openly on the island. A plane sits sunken in the shallow water near the dock, a silent warning to anyone thinking about getting too close. Escobar has the product. Carlos has the route. Together, they are running the most profitable criminal enterprise in history. And in Washington, nobody has a name. Yet. At first, it's just a pattern. Then it becomes a question. Then it becomes a target. A DEA analyst in Miami pulls routine flight logs from a small private airstrip in Fort Lauderdale. The same tail numbers keep appearing, always arriving from the Bahamas, always late at night, always without a filed flight plan. She flags it, passes it up the chain. Someone starts digging. At the same time, former Norman's Cay residents begin talking to American officials. Their stories match. Private planes, armed men, an airstrip that runs through the night. A U.S. senator raises the issue formally with the Bahamian government. The DEA cross-references the tail numbers with known trafficking routes, pulls financial records tied to shell companies, and builds a picture of something enormous taking shape just offshore. Carlos tightens the operation. More guards, more bribes, more silence. But the DEA is no longer guessing. They are tracking specific flights, specific accounts, specific names. Carlos has no idea how much they already know. Early 1982, the U.S. government delivers a private ultimatum to the Bahamas. Shut it down, or face the diplomatic and financial consequences. The Bahamian government, finally overwhelmed by the pressure it can no longer ignore, makes a decision. They are going in. The night before the raid, a warning moves through the network, passed quietly from a paid official to a trusted contact, then to Norman's Cay. Carlos receives it in the early hours. He has maybe half a day. He doesn't panic. He moves fast. Associates are told to scatter. Documents are destroyed. The most sensitive equipment is removed. Carlos boards a plane and leaves the island without looking back. The next morning, Bahamian authorities arrive at Norman's Cay. What they find stops them cold. A fully reinforced airstrip, far beyond anything a private island should have. Fuel reserves large enough for dozens of long-range flights. Weapons caches hidden across the property. Communications equipment sophisticated enough to coordinate an air traffic operation. And scattered across the grounds, evidence of hundreds of cocaine flights, logbooks, packaging, residue. They walk the length of the airstrip in silence. This wasn't a smuggling operation. This was an industry. Back in Colombia, Carlos tells himself this is a setback. He tells himself the routes can be rebuilt. New islands, new airstrips, new channels. But the infrastructure is gone. The network is exposed. The Medellin cartel's most efficient supply line has been dismantled. And for the first time, Carlos Lehder's full name is on a document at DEA headquarters in Washington. Carlos lands in Colombia and disappears into the mountains near Medellin. But disappear isn't really the word. He goes louder. He launches a political party, Movimiento Latino Nacional. He holds rallies, gives newspaper interviews, and positions himself as a Colombian nationalist fighting American imperialism. A man the government wouldn't dare touch. For 4 years, it works. Colombia's fierce opposition to extraditing its own citizens provides a wall no DEA pressure can break. But the agency doesn't stop, building the case year by year through flight records, financial trails, and testimony from arrested associates now willing to talk. Then, in late 1986, a DEA informant surfaces with the exact location of Carlos's hideout. A cattle ranch, a name, coordinates. The DEA passes the intelligence to Colombian authorities. This time, Colombia doesn't say no. February 4th, 1987, before dawn. A cattle ranch near Guarne, Antioquia. Colombian National Police move in fast and quietly. Carlos Lehder is found and arrested without resistance. No gunfight, no standoff, just handcuffs in the dark. What happens in the next few hours shocks even his closest allies. Before the cartel can organize a response, before lawyers can file a single motion, Carlos is transferred directly to an airstrip and placed on a plane to the United States. The first major Colombian drug lord ever extradited to American justice, gone within hours of his arrest. He lands in the United States in handcuffs. His trial begins in Jacksonville, Florida in 1988. It becomes one of the largest drug trafficking prosecutions in American history. The prosecution presents flight records, financial transactions, testimony from former associates, and years of DEA surveillance. The evidence is total. The jury deliberates. July 20th, 1988. The verdict comes down. Life in prison, plus 135 years. Carlos Lehder, the man who industrialized cocaine trafficking, sits in a federal courtroom and hears his future read aloud. He says nothing. Norman's Cay is quiet now. The airstrip is gone. The armed guards are gone. Tourists visit for the clear water and beach bars. Some swim out to look at the old sunken plane near the dock, a relic, a curiosity. They don't know what it meant. Norman's Cay operated for less than 4 years. In that time, it helped move hundreds of tons of cocaine into the United States, fueling an addiction crisis that tore through American cities for a generation. Families destroyed, communities hollowed out. Carlos Lehder didn't invent cocaine trafficking. He industrialized it. He took a disorganized criminal operation and rebuilt it with the logic of a supply chain executive: efficient, scalable, invisible. But the consequences, the addiction, the violence, the broken lives, those didn't stop when the airstrip went dark. Some operations end, their damage doesn't.